We're spiritually separated. We don't believe spiritually on the things of God. So that's the biggest hindrance of our marriage.
How do you handle being in a relationship with a person that the way they may do things is not absolutely how we do things?
Another thing is our mindset. Our mindsets are different. So if we're out of the will of God, of course, carnal minds are going to do what they do. So we're trying to bring spiritual results to carnal mindset. It's not going to happen like that. We have to be in alignment. We have to be spiritually minded.
It's always open for discussion. It's always open to be heard. At the same time, it don't change how we see one another.
And as we classify ourselves as Team Jesus, but in order for you to really become that team and be that team player, it's going to take a lot of submission. It's going to take a lot of prayer. It's going to take a lot of just really listening and being able to detect, because discernment is very important. Discernment is very vital, and also just being attentive. Always giving the opposite one opportunity, and not feeling like that, I'm the one, or everything is based upon what I think or what I say, because it's really not a truth. It may be true to you, but it doesn't make it a truth, because we're not going to always be right.
Whenever my wife comes in, the Bible says, many times the wife finds a good thing and takes favor of the Lord. And I definitely see the favor of God on our lives as we make people. So God bless you. Father, we thank you right now for your anointing. Give us clarity today. Allow us to speak to the people who may be dirty, people who may be confused. Give us clarity. Never let us speak out of ourselves. We have the Spirit. Allow this truth to rest and place in it for transformation. Lord, do not allow this particular ministry to be a place where people become critical of one another, but let it be a place where we become healthy for one another. God, allow us to be good fruit, 30, 60, and 100 fold. So we bless you, Lord. We ask the Holy Spirit to take control of the atmosphere and let it be conducive for learning and for growth, God. We thank you, Lord, for this. Marriage is a covenant that you put together. It's your first covenant that you established. You said unto them, be fruitful, more of the ground we put. So we thank you, Lord. Holy Spirit, we're listening. Wisdom, we do nothing without you. Speak to us this evening concerning relationship in covenant couples. Father, we bless your name. Thank you for a wonderful day. Thank you, Lord, for who you are in our lives. Thank you, Lord, for saving us. Oh, God, we thank you for redemption. Thank you for justification and sanctification. We thank you, Lord, for marriage. Thank you, Lord, for family. Thank you for purpose and journey. God, we give you praise. You know who's here tonight. You know who needs a word. You know what trouble they may be in. And God, give us something that brings freedom and bring maturity to bring them to be conformed to the image of you. God, we thank you that you care about us to the point that you number every hair on our heads. And God, even the small things matter. You never leave us to ourselves. So wisdom, we're listening. Holy Spirit, lead us and guide us into all truth. Allow us to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue the earth. And God will give you praise in advance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. So God bless you. God bless you. Sister Jeremy, God bless you. Sister Smith, God bless you. Sister Lisa Perry, God bless you. I was able
to send out some teachings for Saturday's teaching. Check your email and see if you got it. Good to see you, Sister Ramika. God bless you so much, daughter. And God bless everybody. What I want to talk about today is how to make space for oneness. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you're dating or when you first get married, you have two households, especially if you're getting married for the second time or sometime third time in people's lives. Or if you're older, you're 30 or older, many times you've already been established. And so many times when you get married or gotten married and you are already established, you had car, you had houses, you had property, you had furniture, even down to children. Sometimes the complication is how do we bring these two homes together and how do we make space for it? So I want to deal with some things today that me and my wife was able to conquer that we had to deal with. Two different dynamics. I came from a family of preachers. My wife never desired to be married to a preacher, so it was a different dynamic there. I come from originally from Ohio, but I moved here from Charlotte, and so I had my own car, my own apartment, my own things, and so we had to move into. She had been established, was in a previous marriage. Her husband died of cancer, and so she was well established in a lot of things. And so one of the things that we was able to conquer was, how do I feel home in a brand new home? How do that when you already have your home established? You're used to doing things a certain way. And sometimes this is the complication of two becoming one. You may be used to keeping a house clean. The person that you marry is not as clean as you are, not that they're dirty or filthy, but they may not be as detailed as you are. Sometimes you have a perfectionist marry a non-perfectionist. And sometimes the difficulty is, how do we feel comfortable? How do you feel comfortable in your own home? A lot of times, even in our case, we ate two different types of food. And so I struggle at the beginning of the relationship feeling comfortable in the house that I'm in now. But one of the ways that my wife helped me and she made space for me is that I remember right before I was moving here and loading everything up in the truck, I was going to sell everything that I have and just come. And she says, no, bring your furniture, bring your things, and made space for that. It is very important that you make space for that mate, whether it's male moving in with the female or whether it's female moving in with the male. A lot of times it becomes complication because one feels like it's dominant, especially if you've been through a divorce before. Sometimes you fear giving up that space. Sometimes you fear that. So you say, I'm never going to allow, I'm never going to move in with a woman because the last house I lost, or I'm never going to move in with a man because he never's going to put me out. And sometimes in those danger of mindsets that come from pain or rejection or reality that what you went through, you don't make space for the other person because you're trying to protect yourself. And that's very key. And so a lot of times when you look around in the house, you don't see yourself in it. If you're a male and you moved in with a female and y'all married now, but can you find yourself in that house? Is everything in that house represent her, you know, or vice versa? Do you have room? I thank God for my marriage that I do have a studio because I'm a musician. I've been a musician all my life. It would be a terrible thing if I didn't have space. If I didn't have space for if I didn't have space for my musical equipment, that would be very devastating for me, not to have space, because I've been a musician all my life. And when I lived in my previous apartment, I had to put my drums in my shed. I had a real small shed, and my whole drum set and all my musical equipment was in that shed. But I thank God that my wife made space for me, and she began to say, you can put your musical equipment upstairs. That was very important. I love to read books. You know, I own a lot of books, and it's so sad. I really wish I would not have did what I'm about to say, but I gave away about 7,000 books before I moved here. Just gave them away. I didn't know if I was going to have space to put them, because I'm extremist. And so a lot of times you get married and one person may be extremist than the other. Can you make space for the extremists? Or do you strip them down of that? Is it too much because you were single? Sometimes the way you live as a single person, you have to make adjustments when you're now married because you were single. But making sure that the marriage don't strip you, that you lose your identity, you lose your comfortability, or you feel like you don't have any space in this room. I remember in my previous marriage, when that marriage was over, I looked around and nothing in that house resembled me. And I didn't even know who I was because I had There were no glasses that I purchased that I like. You know, it's very important that we begin to ask one another, what kind of dishware do you like? What do you use for washing clothes? What kind of furniture do you like? You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Why? Because I want you to feel like us coming together, that it's not you coming into my thing, right, or I'm coming into your thing, but we coming into our thing. We coming into the we. The I and the me turns into the us. And that's very key that we do that. It's very key that we do that. And so that's so important that we do that, that we become one in that. Okay. And so, you know, we have to learn that, to make space for that. And we had challenges. I remember when I first moved in, you know, my wife, 6 kids and 32 grandkids at the time that we got married. I remember moving out her furniture and the furniture that I had, because she decided that, you know what, your furniture is more up to date. Let's bring your furniture in, your living room furniture in. And I remember feeling the tension. I remember looking on the grandkid's face. It's like, wait a minute, is he changing, Grandma? Is he taking something away? We used to this type of furniture. And my ideas had to learn how to blend my ideas, because a lot of times the grandkids and the kids feel like he's changing Grandma, or he's changing Granddaddy, or he's changing Mama, or he's changing Daddy. And those dynamics coming together and learning to make space. You got to make space for him. Not only make space him when it comes to furniture or her, but to make space for conversation. I was not used to the way my wife, they play games and they're very strong and very loud. And so it was a culture shock for me at first. But they begin to make space for my conversation, begin to make space for what I like to do, and include me in. A lot of times you're married, and the problem is they never make space for you. So you never really included in conversations, or you never really included in when there's family reunions or gatherings. You feel like the oddball. You on the side, everybody playing, but they don't ever say, come play. What you want to do? And a lot of times when you have 2 different people coming in from 2 different cultures, it could be a white and black couple, it could be a Hispanic and black couple, it could be different things. You have to know how to bring that person in and make space for them. Make what they have been used to important to you. Okay, don't strip them from it all. Don't only eat the food you've been eating. They've been used to a certain food. Don't just get rid of it because we don't eat that here. You know, because that's their space, and this is so important. And so, how to do that? And then the last dynamic that I'm going to talk to you, see my wife, what the Lord has given her, is when you have 2 different families coming in. How to make space for that? You know, you may have 3 bedrooms and you have 3 kids. He has 1 kid. Y'all get together now. Y'all have 4 kids. Are you trying to create another bedroom? Are you talking about moving to a better place so that he can have a room of his own? Everybody else got a room of their own. Things like that. Everybody has a bike, but he's never had a bike. Are you going to make sure that he gets a bike? Or are you going to create jealousy because you never make space for his son or for her son or for his daughter or her daughter? And so making space for one another is very key, that when y'all go out, to make space, to include that person in, include their dress, how they dress. All these things is making space, because a lot of times in marriages, you feel like you lost who you are just to be happy. This is what I have to do. So you become silent. And so you don't feel comfortable. They never watch the things you like to watch. I like to watch documentaries. My wife is really not heavy into documentaries, but she made space for my documentary. We don't want to be every time it's time to watch TV, it's time to movie night. They never pick a documentary because I can feel left out. That's the case. Or I always want to watch documentaries, so I dominate the TV set, so now we never watch anything else. So all those things are important, making space for one another. It look like small things, okay? Even when you go to the grocery store, do you buy things that he like? Do you buy things that she like? Making space for that person, and not just strip them of it because we're married now. Because a lot of times all you do is making people conform to your lifestyle. And now they feel like a roommate. They don't feel like your husband or wife. They're just moving in, and you establish all the rules. Okay, you got to make space for their voice. Even in raising kids, you got to make space for their voice. They so used to you. They so used to you doing everything, or are you always doing the correcting, or are you always establishing that? And you got to make space to say, look here, he's the man of this house, and y'all gonna listen to him as much as you listen to me. You have to make space for his voice. You have to make space. So I wanted to talk about that. So what do you have, sweetheart?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I want to say this is very important, and this is really so needed, because making space for one another, especially like when you're, especially like from blending family or just the two of you together. As my husband was saying about when we did get married and live together, and as he was saying, he was going to leave all his things, but I didn't want him to have to sell all of his things in to even an option for me. I wanted him to bring his belongings, because I, like he said, I was already established. But if you're coming to a place and moving into a place and it's going to be our house, even though I had a home, but it became our home, and so I wanted it to be to the place where when he come, I made every opportunity to make a comfortable place for him. I wanted him to feel like he was coming home, and I wanted him to feel comfortable in being in it. So his thing was, I'll just sell all my stuff and what have you. And I was like, no, bring your belongings, because I've already made room for your things. You're coming to a new home. You're not just coming over to my house. So that's very important, and in everything, not just because of not even by way of furniture, but as you just said, because we even had different eating habits. He come from North Carolina. I'm in the South. I'm in New Orleans. In New Orleans, we cook big, we cook spicy, we cook Cajun, we cook all those things, and he wasn't familiar with that. So then I, in turn, deliberately began to change up on how I prepared meals.
I mean to cut you off. Make sure they can hear you, because Pam's saying the audio is off.
Can everybody hear us? If you can, please let me know, because I don't see anybody else saying that.
Yeah. We're gonna try to keep your phones out, just in case if that is.
What? Can you all hear me? Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, I just wanted to prepare. I was really preparing a home for my husband, and not my house. That makes a difference. I didn't want him to feel like when he came here, he was coming to my house. I never ever try to intentionally make him feel like this is my house. No. So even from that to preparing meals and everything, it took everything in my house and everything here to shift, really, because when he came home, I had already begin to prepare certain things. But then it's a difference in when he did get here. See, this is the difference. Me visiting him and him visiting me, I was still going to his apartment and he was coming to my house. But then when we did come together as a unit, as a husband and wife, then even living together, it you can prepare it from the beginning stages, but it's like it's going to be work, because now we're going from visiting to living together. So I'm going to get to know him on levels that I didn't live with him when I went to visit, or when he came to visit. I'm going to get who he really is, and he's going to get who I really am. So what we begin to do is see where some things collided, and we'll be honest about that. Some things collided because, like he said, he was used to doing things one way. I was used to doing it another way. I know he was used to be quiet because he didn't have any children. Right. Me, on the other hand, I'm a grandmother. I'm a mother. My grandchildren are always here. I have grandchildren that live next door. I have the majority of my grandchildren live right in the vicinity in which I live, so they were always here. Like he said, we had game nights. I do so much with my grandkids. So he had to adjust. And that's the thing, adjusting. But I also had to adjust to now I have a husband in the house. Guess what? Some of the noise is going to have to turn down, because I didn't want to make him feel like, because you moved here, okay, this is what we do. That's not right. I couldn't do that. So I began to talk with the kids. I didn't say y'all stay home. No, because I love being here and my kids love being with me. So this is what we begin to do. We worked as a unit. Look, we got to make sure, we can't be too loud all the time and whatever. But me thinking I'm doing him a favor, noisy. He was the main one kicking the noise with the kids, but I saw where it blended. Things started beginning to blend, and I saw him compromise his peace for adjusting to what goes on here. And in turn, I made sure on days when I know he want to rest, the kids, look, y'all gonna go in the backyard, or y'all gonna sit down and have movie day. And I started doing things of that nature. So this is, it's really important that we learn that, when we begin to merge as a unit, as a family, what are we really, what have we planned that we're going to bring to the table, but what have we prepared for in order to make the shift? Because there is going to be a shift. You could be nice as all get out. He could be the sweetest man and you could be the sweetest woman, but it's going to be different when you live together. So there's going to be some compromising that's going to have to take place. And not just in the things that you choose to compromise in. There are going to be some compromises that's going to have to be made from A to Z. If you're going to live peaceable in your house, if you say you love this person and you're willing to do what's necessary. I'm not saying be a doormat or not. No, we're not even on that level. We're saying, what have I purposed in my heart, in my spirit, as a mate, as a wife, as a husband, to bring to the compromising table? Because there's one table, but in the table there's got to be leaves in the table. Why? Because we have to expand that table. We can't sit around a little round table and say this is gonna be it. Sometimes we're gonna have to add leaves to the table where we can extend that table out to bring whatever we need to that table. Discussion, whatever else is going to be required for that table to hold for us. Then this is what we're gonna do. We're going to either have to put leaves in the table or we're going to push some tables together, because this is going to be it. We can't say what I said and that's it, or what he said and that's it. No, because that table should always have extra leaves to go in it. Why? Because we're extending. And as we extend, the table has to extend, because this is where we meet. And this is where we empty out really on what's necessary, what's required, what do I have that I think we need to discuss? This is the discussion table. So we can really put no limit on the size of the table, because we don't know exactly what size table that we need for this marriage, because we are growing. So that's what I wanted to, I just wanted to add that, but, and can I say something while I have everybody here? I just wanted to say this too, you guys, that today I posted something on my page. While I have you all here, please let me say this. I posted something on my page today because I was contacted by a sister, and then again last week, that somebody has hacked my page. And I really want to say this, and I'm glad I have this opportunity to say that, if you've gotten anything from me, any kind of disturbing letter or post of anything, please know that it's not me. I would never, ever, ever attack anyone. That's not my character. That's not my heart. I love you all, and I'm just not that kind of person. And I'm thankful to God that many have, text me and inbox me saying, we know that's not you, Lady J, that's not your character. So I really appreciate that. If you have gotten anything that's like any kind of attack or any kind of whatever it could be, please know, judge my heart, that is not me. I would never do that to you. That you're using my profile picture as they're sending out this message. And I do understand, you know what, I'm not going to even make it about me, because I know it is attack on the ministry. So this is the second time within 2 weeks that, I've had something happen. First, it was my Cash App. If you guys can remember, I just sent something out about that. Someone tried to hack my Cash App, sending out messages saying I'm asking for money. I never, ever, ever request money from anybody. So that's not me. So please, if you ever happen to see that, please know that it's not my Cash App. I will never request money from anybody. That's not what I do. And as far as any type of message that an offensive message or post or what have you, whether it be via your feed or in your inbox, please know that is not me. That is not me. And I do apologize on behalf of whoever that is sending that out. And if you may be here, and I pray, God, that the person responsible is, I want you to know that I'm praying for you, whoever you are. I do not hold that in against you. I pray for you, and I just pray, God, that whatever you're going through, that the Lord heals you. So I just want to put that out there. So I'm glad. I thank God for this opportunity.
Amen. We thank you for your love and support and knowing our heart. You know, when it comes to, you know, making space for oneness, it can be little things. So I want to talk about some things that may happen because you never want, you know, the merging. Because the one thing about becoming one is even though you had your way before you got married, he has his way and the woman has her way. There's a way that God is creating the marriage to be. And so when you're merging, you're not just merging the two becoming one, but you're starting to learn how God wants that marriage to look. And that's very key, because sometimes you have to introduce to your kids and to your grandkids how the house should be, because now we're trying to be in alignment with God. Because sometimes that's a problem too. They don't want you, or they don't understand how the marriage is evolving. It's especially if prior to marriage, the house was used to a certain conditioning or a certain atmosphere. Let's say the house was not sold out to God. Then you meet a man or a woman, and now there's a greater commitment to God. There's a greater commitment to prayer. The whole entire house and the family has to be introduced that I'm not the same person that I was, because a lot of times they still want to keep that house at a certain temperature. I know when I moved in that God began to deal with us about TV. And so we were known for having cable and all the cable channels, but we cut that off. You have to allow the children too this space to adapt, because God is changing the marriage. So a lot of things that y'all may have did before, you can't do in this house anymore. And a lot of times that's a problem, especially if a man comes in and the woman prior had kids and he's establishing order. Maybe the kids were used to staying up to 1 and 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Now he says the kids got to be in bed by 11 o'clock. And sometimes that space for allow him to set that order is not established. You can't castrate the man, and you can't demean his words, that when he try to establish a certain atmosphere in the home, you're not giving him space to do that. And you got to give the children space to make that commitment or make that adjustment as well, because this is brand new to them. And so I think cousin Pam talked about it, that it takes time. And what I'm talking about, sometimes it takes time to create that space for what the marriage should look like, you know, things like that. I remember when I first moved here, I was used to cooking food for certain seasonings. That seasoning wasn't well known in this house, and so I used to get teased. You know, he got the white seasoning, but after a while, you know, because they weren't used to it, but after a while they began to do that. But that made me feel good when they began to cook with the seasoning that I brought, because one of the things that I was struggling with, and I'll share this, whether it's a man or female may have this struggle. I struggled with when I first moved here. Losing who I was. I didn't want to lose it. I understood there's going to be a lot of adjustments, but let me take that adjustment slow. And a lot of times when you're making space for oneness, don't rush it, okay? And be considerate. Don't automatically say, you know what, I don't cook with that kind of seasoning. You ain't even tasted. Try it out and see. He may be introducing you to something you never been introduced to, or you may be able to introduce him to something, and now he'll say, you know what, I ain't gonna use that season no more. I like yours. Or we can use them both, but be considerate in something small as down to this seasoning. Or I heard Ramika say toothpaste. It can be small stuff like that. Really small stuff. You haven't made space for that. You know, you haven't made space for that. You know, when he moved in, you got 3 dressers and he got 2 drawers. Yeah, he got a lot of clothes, but you never make space for where his clothes gonna be. Things like that, and making room for that, because that has everything to do with the level of comfortability. You know what I'm saying? Very key. And so you have to make space for that oneness. You know what I'm saying? You so used to always having the remote control. Now you have to share that remote control. Can't be all about you, or all those different things. You know what I'm saying? It can be minor, certain pots and pans that you use. And like I said today, today's teaching is very practical teaching, but it's really, have you made space? And I hear some of the comments that I'm saying, people saying, well, that's what I'm nervous about, because I like the way I do things. Why are you marrying somebody and you want to be a partner, but you don't want to be a partner? Remember, you can't be married with a single mentality. And I understand we like what we like, but be willing to like something even greater, or to like something opposite of what you like. don't only hold to what you like is what you like. And you shouldn't have to deny your likes, but neither should he. See, just like, and that's a very key point.
Let me put a tag right there, because even if it is something that you like, let me tell you, when you have a mate, especially if you have a praying mate and a person that sees you, a person that can discern you, a person that intercedes on your behalf, let me tell you, many a times you're going to find where that person is a part of your shift, because you're structured in the way that you do things. But you have to know that everything, most things and everything are really subject to change, because that person now, because I'm doing the necessary precautions for this person. I'm praying, I'm interceding on behalf of this person. So now, you know what? God is allowing me to see. So now when I see, not only is God allowing me to see that person, but God is showing me the requirements as well for that person, who I am in this person's life, what I stand for in this person's life, who this person is in my life. What's needed for this person, what's needed for us as a unit, what's needed for me in order to become what I need to become for him or to become for her. So this is what I'm saying. Things are subject to change, because it can't always be based on how I am, because now how I am shifts into how I was, because now I'm taking on a mate. I'm no longer one within myself. I have become one with someone else. So now this is what happens. There is a transitioning that takes place that now, you know what, I have to be prepared for even before I get married, because there are some things that, you know what, some things just come by way of just loving that person, but other ways come by means of prayer, and some things just by dating, getting to know that person. It brings on, once I know that I desire this mate, it's gonna reflect on me in a place to where now I'm going to move me over to the side, and I'm going to begin to work on us. I'm going to be prepared for us. See, this is where it changes, because it's no longer I. Right. And even though we become one, it's still that I it's been done away with now, because now that oneness of who we are now, it is us. It is us, but we're still one. Right. So this is what, like you say, in preparing for these things, I said these things should be really sometimes done even ahead of time. Not sometimes, but should be done ahead of time. Why? Because I'm preparing. Even before my husband got here, let me tell you, I had clothes for him. I knew his size. My husband was like, he was just so laid back and not into anything, So when he got here, look, I had already prepared wardrobe, because I knew the clothes that he wore. So when he got here, I had clothes in the closet. I had things that I know he liked just from visiting his house, things that I know he liked, certain things. I had it here when he got here. I had different things. I made room for stuff. I made room for clothes. I made room for whatever. And even because I know he had music, one of the first things when he got here was what I said was to do was, let's prepare a place for your music. I had an extra bedroom. We started there. I have a 2-story garage with it's a very big area. I said, I even have the upstairs. You can take that, make that your studio, however you want to do it. But I know music was his baby. He loved his music. He loved his books. So now what am I going to do? Even before I say, let's go get a piece of furniture that you might like, or prepare your furniture, I'm putting in position the things that I know mean the most to him. I know he loved reading. I know he loved to study, and he loved his music. So that was one of the first things that I prepared for him, was a place of his own to have that, because he's one of the, really deny himself to please other people. And I even had to tell him in that, I said, look, I know what it is that you do. Even with the kids, because I even told the kids, we have to give him some time, let him get that study in, but he just do this. He pull him in. So I'm like, well, no, you just take some time. And I really had to tell him, take the time to do what you need to do. I know what he likes to do. So here I am. I'm going to bring the balance, because I don't want him to feel like this is something that you need to do in order to fit in. No, I'm not going to do that. Everything has a time and a place. So we're gonna grow together. There was a whole lot of disgruntles and a whole lot of this and a whole lot of that. And you know what? I said, I'm going to be in the middle. I'm going to be the intercessor for both sides, and I'm not going to take sides with nobody. So this is what I'm going to do. I stayed on the inside, and I stayed neutral. and I bought peace. I demanded peace. I demanded everything that I just prayed, and I just waited for the flow, and it did. So that's what I'm saying, you know, just making sure that we do our part as wives, as husbands, in getting to know that person. We want to go beyond what we see, going beyond the familiar. And I tell you, you cannot keep living in a future marriage from the past things that you shared. You can't do it because it's a progressive thing together. We're going to move forward. It's growing together. Things change. We grow. Sometimes we fall, but we get back up. Sometimes, you know what? We may have all the disagreements and what have you, but we push through. We push through. So this is what I'm saying. You know, we can't really put a deadline to anything, not in marriage. You can't put a deadline to it because, like, I'm gonna give him 4 more months. Why? You can't give him 4 more months, and you can't give her 3. We're married. Right. So now what we're gonna do is what we need to do is put down our weapons against each other, and we need to begin to support each other. Regardless of what we have to do, we have to sit down and talk. If we have to cry, we got to pray. Whatever, we have to come into the understanding that this is why so many of us fall, because we can't identify covenant. We don't know the definition of covenant. We don't know the definition of oneness. We don't know the definition of a lot of things pertaining to marriage. Why? Because we have not taken the time to hear God. We have not taken the time to study it. We have not taken the time to learn each other. See, we want what we want, and as long as it feels good to me, what you give me and what I give you feels good to you, then this is what we try to grow off. No, we're missing foundation. And foundation, I'm gonna tell you, foundation is going to be built off of mishaps, mistakes, speed bumps, hiccups. All these things are part of your foundation. You're not going to get it right in the first year. You may not get it right in the first 2 or 3 years. But the thing is, you just keep building, because as long as you're building, God will keep supplying the materials. So if I pull in the materials that I think we need versus what I know we need, guess what? When it begins to sink and fall, here's God. He's waiting, and he's going to give us what we need. Now, are we going to accept the materials that God is telling us to use? Or are we going to keep trying to build with the wheat and the straw? When God has given us brick and mortar, right, something that's going to sustain our marriage. So this is what we have to do. That is why so many times we fall, because we don't have what it takes, or we are not knowledgeable of the true essence of covenant, the true essence of oneness, and how to apply, or either how to retrieve what's necessary in order to apply it. Yeah.
And that's very key, you know. And I'm listening to the comments. It's a good thing when you know where you are when you're single. That's a great thing. I'll give you, how do you know when you're ready for marriage? When you no longer have grace for being single. That's how you know you're ready for marriage. If you know that God has called you to be a wife, it's a difference between knowing you are a wife, or you know you are a husband, and knowing are you ready to step into that role or step into that covenant relationship. How do you know when it's time? It's time when you no longer have the grace for singleness, okay? You no longer have the grace for singleness. So what happens is you will start feeling bad about being selfish. You will long for the adjustments. You begin to crave for the adjustments. If you're not there, then I love what my daughter said. I'm not ready, and I know it. And allow God to keep purging you. But what happens when it's time for marriage, when your time has come for that too, because marriage is really about timing. Okay, yeah. It's about timing. You have to know that I don't have the grace to be single anymore. I don't have the grace for it. Now the grace is for partnership, working together. And your mind will automatically make room for that space. You have to make room, because without space, you can't make a place. Your husband will never feel like his place is in that home. Your wife will never feel like her place is in that family if you don't give her space for her to make a place. You need space to make a place. And so that's very key. And that comes through the grace that is given for the place. Every place that God called you into, he gives you grace for that place. Grace for that place. Ask yourself, do you still have grace to be single? Do you have the grace to be single? Many times you are avoiding your grace to be single. So when it's time for you to be married, you don't even have the grace for the marriage because you avoided. You should have learned some things with the first level of grace, because we go from grace to grace. So that's very key. So you have to know that. Now, as you begin to lose grace for singleness, the grace for two becoming one will come. And matter of fact, you will welcome adjustments.
Yeah.
You won't resist them. You will welcome them. You'll long for that. You'll begin to dream for that when we can pick out furniture together. See, when you're single, you pick your whole house up by yourself. You know what colors you want, what color curtains you want. You know how you're gonna put your stuff together. But when you begin to be married and that covenant to become one, you don't even want to shop without her. Because I wanted her. Everything that I do, I want my wife to be there to make sure, are you happy with that? It's not about me decorating a room the way I've always wanted, unless that's the room that is for me. And even in that, I want her presence to be there. I may have more, it may be 80-20 in that particular room. In my music room, it's 80-20, but even in my music room, I want my wife's touch to be in it. Okay? But when I got married, I didn't have that grace for wanting to do the whole house myself. And when you single, you hook your crib up, your apartment, and it was all you. Well, you never want, and this is the next one I want to deal with. You never want to be together in a marriage and you hear people or hear your mate say, yeah, I bought that refrigerator. I bought that stove. And never this we. You can make that person feel bad when they hear you have conversations and nothing you say is a we. We bought this. Yeah, we purchased the food. We wanted to have this. It's always I. Yeah, when I bought this, yeah, I got this, I got that. And when you already had a previous life, there are a lot of things that you bought. There's a lot of things he bought before he got with you. There's a lot of things she bought before she got with you. But when y'all get together, some things need to be added to the conversation. Right. See what I'm saying? That's very key. And you want to make space. And sometimes we don't make space even in our conversations. You see what I'm saying? And so it shouldn't be, oh, that's nice. Oh, yeah, I bought this last year. And a husband looking like, baby, you didn't buy that. I bought that for you. But because you're so single-minded, you don't remember all the stuff he purchased you. Right. You still talking about what you bought, and you ain't bought it. You still saying what you did. Oh, yeah, I painted the house, and your wife is like, we painted the house, and you went to sleep. But it's always, this is my house. Yeah, I love that color. Yeah, I painted that. It's I. And sometimes that's not even the truth, but you ain't made space in your mind to even give credit to the we. Mm-hmm. See, this is very key. And so you can have another partner feeling like, you know what, I don't care what I do, she always gets the credit. I don't care what I do, he always gets the credit, because you're not including space in your mind for how y'all did it together. And there's a beautiful feeling when the person is listening on the sideline and they hear you say, this is what we always wanted. This is what we was working on. And we built this together and we established this, or to hear this, you know what, my wife did this and I love the way she did it. And I just let her do her thing and man, it came out beautiful. Or I let my husband do the garden and it's wonderful. It's that, but you want to make space for that, because as y'all grow together, sometimes you can say we haven't become one, and the truth is you haven't. Y'all can live it in the same place and there'll be no oneness, because there is no oneness in consideration or how to merge. Do you get everything you want? Do you get 95%? He get 5%. Is that the case? Is the only time he have something that's tied to him is in the room that he can have. So he got one room, you got 9. Is that really fair? And see, and that's what I mean by making space for oneness. Because to be honest with you, especially if you've been single, you didn't get married till you was 40. It's a big adjustment because you don't know how to share. See, you've been single for 40 years of your life. See, it's very key. And so a lot of times that's why I'm having this practical, because it's good to have the spiritual lessons that we have. But sometimes the problem comes from the practical. I mean, so simple as if he don't even have nowhere to put his shoes. Mm-hmm. Or you know what I'm saying? She don't have nowhere for her hats. You constantly doing stuff. You building sheds. You doing this. You got your fishing poles. You got your tools. But her hats are somewhere squished up in the box. All your stuff laid out in the garage real nice and neat. Or the opposite. You got your stuff real nice and neat. But you say his man cave. But his man cave ain't big enough only for one lawnmower. Ain't no man cave. Real talk. See what I'm saying? And you keep adding stuff to the man cave, so you got more stuff in his man cave than he have in his man cave. If that's supposed to be his man cave, make space for that. Don't take it and keep putting stuff in it. Well, put this in the garage. I thought it was my man cave. It's the garage when you need it.
Your man cave, you gotta clean it up.
Right.
My stuff in there.
You know, all these different things and make space for her, for what she does, whether, you know, it's dresses or, you know, saying, or whatever the case may be, what means a lot to her. My wife, before we got married, she had a whole lot of nail polish, you know, different things like that. That matters to her. I want to get her a relaxed chair now because I know that matters. Making space for the oneness. You don't want to lose that, you know, and you know what really makes it bad? And we almost done. When people come over and they know you and they can't see you in the house. I'll say something else that we have to deal with. And this is something me and my wife, we've conquered this. Y'all been married 5 years and there's no pictures of his families in the house. Every picture in the house is you. Because he moved in with you. Because you had the house, he had the apartment. Y'all got married. All the pictures in the house. She got all her kids up, all the grandkids up. The dog got pictures. Everybody got pictures. People don't know who your mama is, who your daddy is, who your brother is, because there's not one picture of his family up. You never made space for the oneness, or vice versa. See, vice versa. You need to make space. If you like pictures, why his family ain't up? Okay, that's very key. Yeah. When I look at people's houses, I'm gonna tell you, I can look. I have walked in people's houses and I knew who the favorite daughter was, because the other daughters ain't got no pictures on the wall, but the one you love, her picture everywhere. Real talk, her picture everywhere. You can walk in a lot of people's family and you can tell where the lack of oneness is by the pictures that's on the wall. See what I'm saying? No pictures of your new husband. Y'all ain't taking no pictures together, nothing. This mama ain't nowhere, but your mama, you got pictures of your mama when she a baby. Your mama 80 years old. You got baby pictures of your mama. Real talk. But no pictures of his mama, his family. So his family come over and you saying, hey man, my home is your home. We one family. And your brothers and sisters saying, no, we not. Because I don't see myself nowhere in this house. Yeah. See? Yeah. Real talk. And so it's little stuff like that, practical stuff. Have you made space for oneness? See? Have you made space for oneness? Come on, sweetheart. What's wrong?
You don't do anything.
Huh?
Nothing. You said your mom 80 years old, you got the baby picture. Come on now.
I mean, little stuff like that, or things that he like to do.
But that's true. That's really true. Because look, even when my husband moved here, let me tell you, he's the kind of person. I saw him throwing pictures away one day, and I was like, "Wait, what are you doing?" He's like, "I don't need this anymore." I said, "Yes, you do. You know." And this is that's very important. I'm glad you brought that up, because when he moved here, you know what I did? I purposely went through his photo albums and things of that nature, and I pulled out pictures of his parents. I pulled out, and both his parents, excuse me, are deceased, but his father was still living. But his mother's been deceased for many years. But he has one brother. So I went through his things. I pulled out pictures of his mother, his parents, his brother, his grandparents, people that I know he loved, some of his friends, and I put them all in picture frames. And he had this big corner desk. So I put some things on his desk and I put the other pictures around his desk. I put pictures in his studio, because why? It's very important, like we said, to make him feel, not to even make him feel at home, but to let him know he's home. Right. See, that's a difference too. To make you feel like you're at home. Feel like home means that could be a short visit. Right. You know how people say, make yourself at home, but you know by 8 o'clock you're gonna be out of there. Mm-hmm. But then to say, to know this is home, that's totally different. So I just begin to sort through his things, and I begin to take things out that I know mattered to him, and I in turn made them matter to me, because I never knew his mother. I only met his father briefly a couple times, but his father was older before he passed. I've only met his brother once, but still, this is family to me now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring, because I have a slew of pictures of my children and grandchildren. So what I'm gonna do, guess what? Not only did I put his family pictures around his desk, I put them on my stand where I have family. They're in there too. I put his family pictures with my family pictures. So that's another part of the merging. So it's very, like you said, I don't want to make you feel like this is home. Nope, I'm preparing home. So when you do come home and when you are at home, you'll know that you're home. And some things that I did, now this is another thing, even because he was structured and living by himself, it was kind of hard for him to adapt to me doing and moving his things around. See,
right.
Even though his things were packed, right, and I unpacked and I put a lot of things, I gave it time. I didn't just go grab it and say, nope. I gave it time. I said, I'm going to give him a little time. Let me see what he's going to do. Or if he's going to say, sweetheart, put this here, put that. He didn't say anything. So here's me. In the event you were waiting for me, I did it. I began to start going through his things and placing them. And I'm not going to just put his stuff somewhere, not where everybody, I could even tuck it in the back somewhere where people not going to see it. No, I want it to be seen. When people come in here, they be like, who is that? That gives me the opportunity to say, oh, that's my mother-in-law, or that's my father-in-law, or that's my brother-in-law. See, this was my husband's grandparents here. I didn't know him, but this is his grandparents. I can still introduce his family because that is his family. It doesn't matter if they're deceased, that's still his family. So what I begin to do is I begin to put his things like out on a forefront, just as mine were, where everybody put them on display, where they can be seen. Why? This is home. This is where you live. So I did that, and then I began to get his clothes and stuff, which besides the things that I had here when he got here, I began to get his things and put them in order and put his stuff here and put his stuff there, and things in my room. I even stripped my bed. Let me tell you, I stripped my bed because after my husband died, I had a girly room. And then
Come forward, so he's gonna send his picture. So when you come,
yeah, I'm gonna put it right in there with us. But when he moved, I stripped my room. Before he even got here, I had a girly room. My husband had died. I had pretty colors in my room, and pretty because I liked it. I like pretty. So when he moved here, I took all that out. Before he got here, I put cream and put tan and white, and I had it made out just like as though he was. I put paisley print sheets on the bed because paisley print is unisex. I put paisley print sheets. I did this, that, and that, and I got rid of all that stuff. Gave it to my daughters, but I prepared it. Even in the bathroom, I had colognes waiting. Ramika toothpaste because I knew what he liked when I visited. I had everything that I know he liked, even down to what he liked to drink. He was this, y'all, God bless his heart. But my husband used to love sausage and tater tots. That was like a big meal for him. He loved it. So guess what? When he got here, I had sausage and tater tots and whatever little things because he's so, oh my God, he's one of the most simple people. It's like nothing that he grabs at. He doesn't want for a lot of anything, but that he did, I had to prepare. But when he did come, and I started like trying to introduce him to the things that I do, and he was like, "What is that?" And oh no, I'm just like, "Honey, try." He's like, "No, sweetheart, I don't want that." I said, "Okay, but I'm gonna get it next time on it." So this is what I like to eat too. So just that shift, just what he was talking about, right. That shift, that merging, that preparing, that all is. I'm telling you, it is so much. Lord Jesus, I could write a book on it. It's so much. When it comes to merging, see, right. We can say that oneness, we can say doing this or being married, that merging can take, it can take the whole course of the marriage right. Before we get it not right, but before, and I think merging is a eternal part of the marriage because we grow, that's right. Things change, right. Times change. Right. We change. Right. Look, I'm not that little bitty Sandy used to be floating right here wearing a size 5, 6, 10. I ain't that. I'm telling you, things change. I ain't saying, look, I'm looking at now, I look at crow's feet. I have these things coming, y'all. I'm almost 60 years old. I'm getting this change. Look, like little lines here and the little lines here. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm confident in who I am. But the thing is, I'm changing. I'm not going to be almost 60 years old and still have the mindset of a 25-year-old. No, I'm going to embrace.
There is a rising of the remnant. You are called to this rising. born for this rising. There is a rebirthing and a rebuilding in the kingdom. The remnant is like a burnt wall that is still standing, strong and courageous, committed to the commitment, walk in understanding and lives in God's purpose. The remnant is bold and fearless. They go from purging to purity to process. There is a rising of the remnant and the